Welcome to another insightful episode of Me and My Health Up. I'm your host, Anthony Harcher. I'm a clinical nutritionist and lifestyle medicine specialist. Health Up seeks to enhance and enlighten the well-being of others. And today we're talking about a very topical topic. It's certainly been in the media of recent, and it's certainly of growing concern amongst the community is that we're not talking enough about it, and we're not helping those that are out there with the disorder. And so this, what I'm about to talk to you about, and with I have here with me Shani, is we're going to be talking about disordered eating, eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia, orthorexia, so anything associated with disordered eating. And I'd love to welcome you, Shani Tal. Shani is studying arts commerce at UNSW, and she seeks to develop a career in criminal justice. And so I've brought Shani along today because she's doing a lot of great work on social media with her Instagram account, which she'll share with you. I think it's Bodyversity, at Bodyversity. So yeah, she's doing some terrific work in terms of getting the awareness out there and where to go for help, if you're struggling with it. And I've brought her along today to share her story and to share what's worked for her. So welcome, Shani. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. I feel very honored to be able to share aspects of my story and to help others understand eating disorders, and to anyone who's going through it currently, to let them know that they aren't alone.
Yeah, thank you, Shani. And this episode is a follow-on. We've had two previous episodes on this disordered eating, so please have a look at them. So we're not going to really go into the definitions of what eating disorders there are. It's more, this is about Shani and Shani's journey and what's helped her, and the message that she wants to impart in getting the awareness out there, and what we can do as a society to help improve, I guess, the environment to which young people are brought up into, and they don't feel that they need to go down this path. So yeah, Shani, please start with your story and share what you'd like, with the listeners and viewers.
So firstly, I would just like to note that my experience is unique. Everyone's experience with an eating disorder is unique. So whatever I say is not a representation of people suffering from an eating disorder. But I think it is important to start talking about it more, so there isn't that sense of shame, which is what I experienced in my first few years of my anorexia journey. So I was diagnosed 5 years ago with anorexia when I returned from my gap year, which I came home early from it because my parents could see that I was not well. So it was not what I was expecting when I got home. I was thrown into endless medical appointments, getting weekly tests to check up on all my health indicators. And it was a very lonely and scary time. My social anxiety took a toll, and yeah, I was doing behaviors and saying things that I reflect back now, and I'm like, I can't believe I did that. It makes me sad that I was going through that, and that other people are going through that too. So my recovery journey properly started when I found a psychologist who I really connected with and felt safe with. I had previously tried a few other psychologists, but I just didn't click with. And I think that is something that's so important, is to know that there will be someone that you can talk to, and if it's not the first person or the second person that you've tried, to keep trying. because they have different styles and approaches, and everyone's different. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I found my specific psychologist, who I've been seeing for many years, and she's actually going on maternity leave, so which was scary for me, to think that, you know, this person who knows everything about me and helped me get to where I am in my recovery, I'll no longer, you know, be meeting with her. But I've been lucky to be put in touch with someone else who I had like a trial session with to make sure that we clicked, and we did. So I'm feeling positive about that. Yeah, so my journey has had a lot of relapses. When people say that healing is not a linear process, it is so true. But I think it is important to recognize that you don't go backwards. Even if it feels like you've gone backwards, once you overcome that battle or that hiccup or that barrier, you are further along your journey because you've had this strength to overcome something difficult and you've got new insights now. So I don't think relapses are you going backwards. It's once you've overcome that, you have come out even stronger than you were before, and you've learned something new and different about yourself and your resilience and your abilities. So yeah, I've had different triggers, and I think that's also something really important for people suffering from an eating disorder, to get in touch with what your triggers are and trying to plan or come up with coping mechanisms for when you're in those situations, so that you aren't triggered to relapse, and being able to catch it early, because it's like snakes and ladders. You go down very quickly, and then to come back up, it takes a long, hard time. So yeah, that's an important message, I think, too. And yeah, also, I think people don't realize that eating disorders can impact every aspect of your life. It's not just about body image or an obsession with weight or looking a certain way, or like, it definitely can be, but that's, you know, it's so much more complex than that, and for everyone it's very different. And I have experienced a lot of physical health issues as a result of my anorexia. And I think that's also something that's not spoken about a lot. And I think sometimes being underweight can be romanticized, in that, yeah, people don't realize the health complications that come with it. So I think that also really needs to be more awareness around that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally hear you. And, you know, we certainly need to have that awareness out there that those, I guess, figures that are romanticized, that, you know, as you know, that aren't real, they've been airbrushed so that they're unreal, they're unrealistic, and that's not ideal. And that ideal look is completely individual based on that person's genetics and what their goals are. So, you know, not everyone has the same goals and same aspirations, and it's really just falling in love with what, you know, God or, you know, you've been given with. And I think, you know, the more we can less judge people on the way they look, and more see them for who they are and love them for who they are, the better we will be, you know, in terms of helping people, or helping prevent people going, you know, down this path. So I totally agree with what you're saying there, Shani.
Yeah, and on that, in the last year or so, I have, and through creating my Bodyversity Instagram account, I have been exposed to so many incredible people who do promote body acceptance and body diversity. And I think it is so important to diversify who you follow, who you get information from, who you look up to. And yeah, that has really helped me as well on my journey. So I think, yeah, Instagram can be a very dangerous tool, and social media can be very dangerous, but if you use it in these ways, then it can really help you. And I think, yeah, very important to diversify your feed, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, being in control and having the right filters there to protect you, and to not allow those triggers to affect you, because you know, you mentioned those triggers earlier, and those triggers can be what someone says to you. It can be a smell, it can be some music, it could be some change in the environment, particularly a particular person can be, you know, be a trigger, and so, or a particular article in the paper, some news. So these triggers, you know, as you said, is going to be different for everyone, but it's important that people identify those triggers and apply the filters like you did to protect yourself and, you know, to avoid going down that snake and having more climbs up the ladders, you know, towards progress. But as you've rightly done, you know, it's accepting that healing isn't linear, and that life will come in front of us for whatever reason. We will encounter those obstacles, and you saw them exactly how they should be seen, as, you know, to serve us, to teach us something, and to propel ourselves forward. And that's exactly, you know, how you've taken each of the setbacks on your journey to healing. So well done, Shani. It's really, you know, inspirational in terms of, you know, you told me before the talk that this, you wouldn't have had this courage some time ago, but, you know, over time you've grown to accept that you have the condition, and you've now embraced the fact that you can help others, which, you know, and I'm so glad you're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, in those moments of being consumed by eating disorder thoughts, and in those relapses, I don't have that thought process of, I'm going to learn from this. So it's more in hindsight that I'm able to reflect. So yeah, in those moments, it's very difficult to be like, I'm going to learn from this. But yeah, but knowing that you've been through tough times before, and that you've gotten through, that in itself can give courage to keep moving forward, and knowing that whatever you're going through, then it's not permanent, it will pass. And just to keep moving forward as much as you can. I
was just wondering, what are some of the things that help you to move forward? So, you know, when you hit those dark spots again, and those thoughts, and that you feel like you're in that vortex or that spiral, how do you then, I mean, you did mention that you think, well, I have got out of this in the past, and but is there any particular techniques that help you climb out of that hole?
Yeah, so in the last year or so, I've found that journaling has been so helpful for me. And I can't believe that in my early recovery days that I wasn't doing journaling, but, you know, never too late to start. I basically I have it right next to me. just from Kiki K, a pretty book, and I write in it whatever's on my mind because I want to get it out of my head. And then I write it. And if it's negative thoughts, I make sure that after I write affirmations, being like, you will get through this. You've got the strength, you've got the resilience, you've got the courage. So not only have I let it all out of my head, I've also reassured myself that I can get past this, even if I don't believe it in the moment. But just writing it in itself is really helpful. And then often I look back in my journal and I'm like, wow, I've come such a long way from that moment when I was having those thoughts or when I was feeling like that. And it is important to be proud of yourself in your progress. Yeah. My number one.
What was that? So what was your number one?
Journaling. That's my number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find now when you're slipping down the snake that you don't go as far down as the tail? Do you find that you can prevent or stop the fall being so great? Is that, what you've noticed in terms of, it's a non-linear journey, but you're heading in the right direction? Would that be your case, or have you?
Yeah, definitely. So last year, towards the end of last year, I was very close to a relapse, but I caught it early. So exactly, it's having the outlook to be able to catch it early, but then also the tools in how to move past that and make sure that you don't go down the spiral, and that you can get out of it. So definitely, I think on that journey, it does become easier to catch yourself and to get out of it, at least in my experience.
Yeah, okay. Because it'd be like anything that we do repetitively, or, it's happened to you a number of times. And so you build, it's like building muscle in a sense, wouldn't it? It's that repetition, and you get better at doing that repetition. And as you said, you now know the triggers, and so you're better at filtering and stopping those triggers coming into your life. But if, the one does, come into your life, you can stop yourself from falling so far because of these techniques. And you said the number one was your journaling. What is sort of your number 2 and 3, or do you have any others that really help you in these moments?
Well, I mentioned my psychologist. So I think not even a psychologist, but someone who you feel safe to open up to. I also have a really close friend who I'm able to open up to, and I feel very lucky for that. So yeah, just having safe people who you don't feel will judge you. I think, that's really important too. And I think, and just following people who promote body acceptance or positive behaviors rather than the opposite is also really important. And another thing is reminding myself that I am not my anorexia. So for probably the first 2 or 3 years, I couldn't separate myself from my anorexia. I felt like that was my identity. And the thought of, getting rid of it was like an identity crisis, and it was scary, and I couldn't even tolerate thinking about it. But now I am able to separate myself, and I am able, which has helped me catching the triggers, because I'm able to be like, no, that's the eating disorder talking, that's eating disorder thoughts, that's not me, that's not healthy me. But in the past, I couldn't differentiate, and it was all consuming. So just reminding that I am not my eating disorder, I'm not my anorexia.
And is that something your psychologist or friend helped you through, like in terms of that thinking?
Yeah, definitely. And there's also, yeah, as I've said, some amazing accounts on Instagram that also promote that thinking. So just that constant reminder from, yeah, my psychologist, and telling myself and seeing it on Instagram definitely just wise it, which is a really good reframing, I think, for recovery.
And I was just thinking, like, if you're an observer of someone that you're concerned about, that maybe you think their behaviour is a bit unusual and they've been doing this for a while and starting to see some signs that something's just not right, is there a particular way that you can, approach the subject, or is there something that you would find less offensive in terms of remarks or comments or support? And I'm just thinking, that there'll be people that are listening that have someone they're a bit concerned about, but they're just holding back from having that conversation, or, because I remember, at the start of when we were speaking before we went live, was that you mentioned you're in that denial. So I'm thinking, if the person they know is in denial, and I'm just wondering if you have any tips around that, or anything that would have helped you, because, your parents obviously were a significant part to bringing you home and getting help. And so I was just wondering, what was it that, helped you, convince you that you needed to come home? Or just, I don't know if you can answer that. I just thought I'd ask it.
I think that's a really great question to ask. Like, I don't really have the answers, but I do have some insights. Yeah, a lot of people may be in denial, and it is so hard to bring up with someone you care about, because you don't want to offend them, you don't want to trigger them, which is a huge thing, because often when you're in denial or in those early days, someone telling you that there's a problem can make you want to embrace it even more. And that happened to me. I was like, oh, I don't have an eating disorder, not at all, because I don't do this, I don't do that. But then I was like, you know what? Like, so then I embraced it in a way. So you have to be careful not to label it as well. Maybe more just like saying, I've noticed you haven't been yourself lately, or I just wanted to check in with you, make sure everything's okay. I just hope you know I'm always here to talk, and that, like, no judgment or anything. Just a very like neutral type conversation, not specifying that notice you haven't been doing this, like haven't been eating or haven't been doing these behaviors. Just very like broad, and reassuring that person that you are there for them, and that there is no judgment, and that it's a safe space, and that they can always come and talk to you. And if they don't, then it's still reassuring for that person, I think, that they know they have someone. So even if you think you haven't done anything, you have. And just showing that you care. That's really important. And if they do say, you know what, I have been struggling, suggesting to see a psychologist who specializes in eating disorders, or the Butterfly Foundation is an incredible resource. And they have this like live chat that you can talk to someone as well. So yeah, one of those two, even if you just started with the Butterfly Foundation, and they can like direct you. So yeah, it is really difficult though, being an outsider and seeing someone that you care about be in that situation.
I think you've answered it really well, Shani. It's sort of, you've allowed, you've just stated what you've just noticing, that something's just not right with them. And so that puts them at ease, that someone's realizing that I'm struggling a bit, and they think, oh, that's, you know, they've not acknowledged that, and then they're just pretty much saying that I'm here for you, if you need someone to talk to, and so you're, showing that you're open for them when they're ready to come and knock on the door and say, yes, I'd like you to help me, or this is what's really going on. So I think that is a fantastic way to, address or approach the subject that may be on someone's mind, or, a concern for a loved one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any parting words that you'd like to share with what we can do, or what our society should be doing to help prevent this totally preventable disorder? So I'm just thinking, you've mentioned there's the way in which idolize certain characters, or models, or things like, or a certain image, that idolization for that, and creating that as what people should aspire to. So that's obviously something that that's not good, that's happening in society. Do you think there's enough awareness and education in schools? Is that, did you come across anything that could help prevent you from going down the path that you went?
Definitely not. I think, it's that when I was at school, there was little awareness about it, and it was very like hush hush and a lot of shame. And I think a lot of disordered eating behaviors are promoted and deemed acceptable from such an early age. So I think schools do have a role to play as well. And the Butterfly Foundation, I know, do work with schools, which is amazing.
Right.
So I think it's the combination of this certain body image, and then also disordered eating behaviors and obsessions with exercise, just a combination of things. And then also just destigmatizing and trying to get rid of all this shame that goes with being labeled as someone with an eating disorder, or just the term.
And just in terms of closing remarks as to what you'd like to share with anyone that's listening, that maybe at the beginning of their recovery journey, or maybe still in denial. I don't know, just any wise words based on your experience you'd like to share.
Well, to anyone who is struggling with an eating disorder, or thinks they are struggling with one, know that your recovery is worthy. You're worthy of recovery, and that not to be ashamed, and that you are a warrior and you can do this, and seek the help that you deserve, and you are not alone.
Beautifully said, Shani. Beautifully said. So I really appreciate you coming, onto the show and sharing your story, being open, vulnerable, just to help someone else and help them on their recovery journey. You've shared some great tips, from journaling to filtering the triggers, to embracing, or persisting and finding the right psychologist for you. Connecting with close, people to you that really support you and have your back, that, you can go to in times of need. And so I really do appreciate what you've, done in terms of coming on and being so open and sharing your knowledge. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. And it's been a privilege to be able to share aspects of my story and what has helped me, because if it can help one person or just anyone understand a bit more about eating disorders, then that's amazing.
And for the viewers and listeners, I'll include Shani's Instagram account, which is amazing resource. And Shani will also share with me anything else that she's found useful in terms of resources, and I'll put all those links wherever I post this material. And yeah, and you can connect with Shani via probably Instagram. Is that the best? Yeah.
Yeah, you can message me on Instagram. It's at Bodyversity, BODYVERSITY.
Fantastic. So thanks again, Shani. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best on this journey of recovery. And I really do appreciate what you've done and what you're doing to help get the word out there and prevent others from ending up where you did and have recovered from. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.